that I have so many questions, but and this is going to be a special edition of Dreamland. We're going to be posting it immediately. It'll be up in 10 or 15 minutes. But I want to ask you both a question now also about a couple of things. One, is there any evidence of some kind of mass evacuation being planned? I've seen rumors about that online, and they struck me as kind of iffy. Kind of the stuff that goes out over the internet that's not real. I want to know if there's any evidence of that on the ground.
Well, at lunch actually today, I talked to Dr. Ricky Ott, and she was talking about the presence of chemicals. Even if you take away the dispersant, just the oil alone is so toxic. You add that to dispersants, shit, if there's a hurricane, a major storm, get out of here. She said the oil and the dispersants will be in the air. They'll be airborne, they'll go inland, highly toxic, highly carcinogenic, and she's a toxicologist, Dr. Ricky Ott. So if that does happen, or should I say when that happens, that was her recommendation.
Well, there's something that the two of you may not know. Being sitting here in my little armchair in California, I have been also studying and talking to climatologists about this, and not many people know much about it. So far, I haven't gotten anyone willing to commit on an interview because it's so unknown and so obviously so very controversial. But here's what they seem to think, that the use of dispersants has created the potential for a millennial catastrophe, which will happen when a big storm comes through and all of that toxic material can be lifted into the rainfall. And that rainfall could blanket huge areas of the United States with toxic, deadly rain.
There has been talk, we are all very, very scared down here, and there's absolutely been talk of exactly that happening, even as the rain fell today. You don't know what is airborne, what is coming back down in the rain. You can smell it. I've been at the beach today with Ashley and the rest of us. We have headaches. So that fear is, I don't know, I'm not a scientist, I'm just a lawyer, but it certainly is a very real fear for us down here, absolutely.
I remember driving back from Grand Isle, and this is the only time I smelled it this strong. I notice it almost daily, but this time in particular, it was so powerful. It was like a combination between battery acid and diesel fuel. The most toxic odor I've ever been subjected to. But it's not. It's present pretty much always. I've smelled it, but nothing like a week ago.
Let me ask you each in turn my next question. If you were able to walk into the White House, first, Debbie, right now, just walk right into the president's office and sit down and talk with him, what would you tell him is needed?
I don't have the solution to this problem, but I would definitely tell him that the government needs to enforce their own standards, and that we have got the fox in the hen house as far as BP being in charge of cleanup, and we have got to stop the use of the dispersants, and we need transparency on what is going on with the cleanup. What are they doing with the materials that they have cleaned up, and what is their plan? Where's the Surgeon General? Why haven't we heard from her? She hasn't registered in on this. We have no information down here, and I just would say to him, stop the dispersants. We've got to do something else, and we need transparency, and the public needs to be aware. I was at the beach today, and there were tourists letting their children swim in the water.
There were signs posted saying the water was potentially toxic.
And the signs were there saying the water's potentially toxic. there are people swimming in the water down here, and there is oil tar balls washing up on the beach. People don't know, and so I guess the message would be, number one, stop the use of the dispersants, enforce the governmental agencies' mandates, and take over the cleanup effort from BP. Absolutely, they need to fund it, but they're not doing it. Their motives are diametrically opposed. They are a for-profit company that is in charge of the cleanup, and the things that we have heard down here that I cannot verify, but with collection of carcasses and what they're doing with the carcasses, and who knows whether there's any actually live wildlife that they're collecting and supposedly incinerating off the beach. I don't know, but I do know that putting BP in charge of the cleanup, it just is oxymoronish.
Well, exactly. It is. In my opinion, and this is not a political radio program or a political website, but I have to say that it shows a profound lack of leadership in this country, both on the part of your representatives in all of the southeastern states that are affected. The only one who has spoken out in any coherent way is Bobby Jindal. And certainly on the part of the president, who has, I suspect, been deceived, frankly, lied to by experts whom he shouldn't trust. It's as simple as that. Now, James, if you will give us, what would you do if you could go to the White House right now? Take your camera.
Well, I had the opportunity to at least see the president from across the street 2 days ago, and I had one question I was going to throw at him. Why the continued use of dispersants when the EPA is asked or told BP to find something less toxic to use, and yet BP continues to use them? And I'm getting reports from locals that are saying these planes are flying over at night, these inlets and bays, and spraying. And that's illegal. And so for me, you kind of have to choose your battles out here because there's so much going on. There's just, it's like an assault. But from what I've gathered and everyone I've talked to, the use of these dispersants are making everything matter so much worse. They're causing the oil to seep below the surface. You don't know how much it is. You don't know which direction it's traveling. You can't see it. It goes under the booms. And then on top of that, throwing millions of gallons. You know that apparently in the Exxon Valdez oil spill, they used over 100,000 gallons of that dispersant. And the areas where they use the dispersants are still under recovery. And the areas they didn't use the dispersants have recovered almost 100%, according to Dr. Ott, who was there. And they're using unprecedented amounts of this stuff. I mean, last I heard it was over 1 million gallons of these dispersants. And the EPA is telling them not to do it. It's so bad, Whitley. I can't believe they're getting away with it. I just can't believe it. All you have to do is spend one day on the ground talking to locals to know that's what's happening. And the fact that the president is isolated from that, I can't even believe it. That to me is the most significant. I'm actually approaching producers at CNN and trying to get this story out. We're getting lab tests back from samples of the water with these these dispersants, and getting lab results back, I think, within the next 24